My dad got me hooked on methamphetamines by giving me an IV shot. We was at one of his friend's house, and I walked in on him getting high. Told him I wanted to try it, and that's how it started. I got pregnant when I was 19, 20. I had my daughter in prison. The last few days before I was released from prison, I had a lot of anxiety dealing with the guilt and not relapsing.
This is Aliea. She's well acquainted with Oklahoma's criminal justice system. During her most recent interaction, she spent 1 year in prison.
Walking out of prison, it was amazing. I felt free, you know. Being able to walk out those gates and not have to look back. My case managers were there to pick me up. You want to walk out and your family be there, especially with children, but it wasn't happening like that. Branch 15 is a transitional living house. This is where I will be living for the next year.
This is gonna be your room.
I'm really nervous about everything, about the other people, about messing up or not. I'm just nervous about everything.
Since childhood, Alia's been entangled in a cycle of drug addiction, unstable family life, and incarceration. And now she wants nothing more than to break that cycle.
When I first started getting in trouble with the law was when I was 12. That's when I started my addiction. My mother had left me. My father was in and out of my life. My dad started me on drugs. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was 12 years old, you know. I was stripped from my childhood. It was one thing after another, you know, just to get that drug. My dad got sent to prison because of drugs. He was cooking meth. I thought he was cool because he went to prison, you know, he was bad. I know you have a lot of guilt too, but I don't judge you for it. I don't hold it against you at all. My life, it went downhill. I was in and out of lockup, and then when I turned 17, I was put in Oklahoma County Jail. I stayed there for a year and started all over again, started my addiction all over again.
Pregnant by age 20, Aliea was high when she found out, and once again she was in trouble for drugs. The cycle starts again, but this time she ended up in prison, terrified about what might happen to her unborn child.
It was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. Here I am, young, pregnant with my first child. I'm a drug addict. They raced me to the hospital. I was there going through a labor for 18 hours. I was shackled to the bed. I remember pushing her out and I just started crying, like I was bawling. I don't know if it was tears of joy or tears of, you know, fixing to have my daughter stripped from me. They put her in my arms in the bed for a couple hours and then they took her. I was in prison for 2 years.
During that time, Alia's grandmother took care of her child, but when she was finally released,
I tried to bond with her, but every time I'd pick her up, she would scream and cry and want my grandmother, so I felt rejected. It was hard. It was real hard.
Unable to be the mother she never had, Aliea went back to what she knew, drugs. But when her grandmother eventually died, she found herself ill-prepared to raise her own daughter.
My daughter told me she hated me, and I just let go.
The fact is, Alia's story isn't unique in Oklahoma. The state has the highest rate of female incarceration in the country, and there's no signs of it slowing down anytime soon. In 2015, 64 out of every 100,000 women in the U.S. were in prison. Oklahoma more than doubled that, with 151 women for every 100,000. Experts point to the state's harsh drug laws and longer prison terms, which are some of the most aggressive in the country. Oklahoma uses prison over alternatives more often than other states, with female incarceration projected to grow by 60% over the next 10 years. Similar to Aliea, 61% of female offenders that entered prison in 2013 were assessed with a need for substance abuse treatment. The cycle starts yet again.
In 2012, I was arrested. My daughter was put in foster care.
For years, she tried to get her daughter back, but was denied. A year ago, she caught her latest charge and ended up behind bars. Aliea has since found out that her daughter doesn't want a relationship with her.
I worry about my daughter following my footsteps a lot because I followed my dad's footsteps. September 12th, she'll be 12, and that's when my life went out of control. I want to do whatever I can to prevent that. If I could break the cycle with her, it would be amazing. I get scared because I couldn't imagine my daughter being in prison. This time is different because I know what I need to do to break that cycle with my daughter. I want to be a family.